And welcome back to Mandela Effect tonight. And we will be continuing to spin the wheel and answer or address some more topics. So here we go. A couple of the topics I don't have any more material for, so I will move to the next relevant topic if I land on that. All right, looks like critics don't have that, so quantum jumping will be quantum jumping. Okay, so quantum jumping. Now, when you shift, when you change realities, for all intents and purposes, it is instantaneous. For your perception, for your five senses, it happens instantaneously. It's not perceivable. It's fluid. It's smooth. You'd never know. Well, unless Mandela effect changes start hitting you, then you might know. But yeah, you don't see it. You shift realities seamlessly, just like your heart beats. Just does it, right? It's kind of like your heart beating. So, but there are certain times in your life where you might be able to perceive a change, a shift from one reality to the next. When you experience deja vu, it's almost like a hiccup in the matrix. That has a little bit of a feel or a little bit of a flavor to those who have the fear-based thought patterns that it's a computer program running in the physical reality. It's a simulation and it's messed up and it's fucked up and shit. No, but yeah. So sometimes there's a slight overlap from one. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the human brain, the human mind, both is not equipped to process more than one reality at a time. And when you experience deja vu, you're just briefly, just momentarily becoming aware of more than one reality at a time. And that doesn't fit. Our brain, our mind, as a physical human form, it doesn't fit, does not compute. Error, does not compute. So you get the deja vu feeling, like you've already been here, you've already done this. So, all right, we'll spin the wheel and see what we get. All right, it's a blank. It's a blank. That means I can pick, and we will go to. Let's go to Mandela effect mistakes. So these are Mandela effect examples. It might not actually be a real example, but again, it's all personal because there are plenty of personal Mandela effects, and it's not really one person's place to say, yeah, you're not correct. But I'm just trying to point out common or less common mistakes that people can make. We're trying to make the Mandela effect examples that survive through all of these checks and balances be more impactful or relevant. Okay. One of the common criticisms is memory issues. Okay. Now, of course, the critics who use the memory issue thing are saying that it's all memory issues. There's no sense. You just don't remember what Ford looked like. You don't remember what the maps used to look like. You just got a bad memory. All of you have bad memories. No. I'm just saying that obviously there are going to be situations where people do have a less than precise memory about something, and they're kind of just giving it the benefit of the doubt and saying, yeah, that changed for me. I don't remember it like that. All of us are going to be guilty of this, and it's not like we're doing it on purpose, but there are going to be people who can't quite remember, and they're just kind of filling in the blanks in their mind. So that argument that some critics will make to say it's all memory issues, some of their points are absolutely correct, but it's far and few between. It's only applicable to some people's specific examples, not broadly spread to all examples for all people. No, but there are going to be a certain amount of examples that are maybe not, they're not legit because the person isn't remembering it right. Yeah, sure. Of course that's a factor. Of course. Pronunciations. You hear a name, you hear a name or a word, a label, whatever it is, and it's pronounced one way but spelled a different way. And you had always assumed it was spelled the way it sounds, and then you see it spelled differently, and you're like, whoa, that's a change. Sometimes that is a change, but sometimes it's not. I mean, it's going to be really hard to figure out if it was or not, but I'm just saying that sometimes you just hadn't seen that word in print very much, so you assumed it was spelled the way it sounded. So, and again, this is just examples. It's not a blanket statement. It's just, I'm just saying that there's a small percentage of Mandela effect examples where you could apply that and say that, then maybe that's not really, maybe that really didn't change. Maybe you're mistaken. Sure. Okay. All right, let's spin that wheel. Spin that wheel. All right, maps. All right, back to the maps. Okay. Sri Lanka, just south of India. Plenty of people remember it being more directly underneath, not off to the side. So that's a relatively common one, that Sri Lanka was directly underneath India, and now it's like off to the side. Also, this is an interesting one. Madagascar. Madagascar, population of approximately 29 million people. There are a number of people who have the exact same memory that Madagascar was an animal preserve. Researchers went there. It wasn't populated by people. It was an animal place, and it was smaller, and it was further south, and it was closer to the coast of Africa. And it didn't have like people. It was like a nature preserve. And it's not like one or two people like remember like that. Like anybody connected to the Mandela effect pretty much who has a Madagascar issue, they are all saying the same thing. So that's kind of a different kind of one. All right. I'm going to spin the wheel, see what we get for the next category. All right, we got mistakes. Mandela effect mistakes. All right, so just to touch on the mistakes now, there is going to be a little bit out there, and I can't think of any specifics. This is just using logic, that there's going to be overzealousness. People getting overzealous. That anything that might have changed and they can't really remember for sure, they're just going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it was a change. It very well could have been. But if you're on the fence, maybe you're leaning towards just saying, yeah, it probably did change. And then that's your stance. And over time, you get more and more convinced that it did. But you weren't totally sure. So just be cautious that just because it maybe was a change doesn't mean it was, but it could have been. Also, confirmation bias. That's another argument that people will use to say Mandela effect is absolutely not true. None of it's real. Y'all either have bad memories or y'all just using confirmation bias. Sometimes, yes, confirmation bias can play into it. Sometimes. All right. All right. We'll spin that. We'll spin the wheel, and we'll see what's next. All right, maps again. I got one more maps for you, and that will conclude the maps section. All right, Talladega Super Speedway. I don't know if you're a racing fan. Talladega Super Speedway in Florida, right? Talladega is in Florida. Not anymore. It's not in Florida anymore. Now it's in Alabama. Or maybe it was always in Alabama. Guess that depends on what you remember. Plenty of people remember it in Florida. Maybe it's just misperception. I don't know either. But yep, Talladega, Alabama, not Florida. All right. All right, we're going to spin the wheel. Quantum jumping. All right, what do we got? Now, I've covered this before. It's very important. You want to control your future? Do you want to shift into a reality you prefer? Okay. I think it's relatively easy to intellectually think about what reality you'd like to be in, what kind of life you'd like, what circumstances you would like to see in your life. However, it's a little more challenging to feel the energy, the emotions inside you of whatever you desire to be in. What kind of reality setup would you like? So be in that energy already. Even though it's not there yet, you're not there yet, be in that energy. You want that dream job? Pretend you have it. Try to feel what it feels like to have that job and be excited about that. So be in that energy, and then you will find that over time you will shift into a reality where people are already kind of have that energy as well. So you will move into the more you can hold that energy in you, the more you will move into a reality where others are like that as well. Gandhi is he has some amazing quotes. One of his more famous ones. It reads exactly as follows: "You must be the change you want to see in the world." Now, it's commonly known as "be the change you want to see in the world," but he says you must be the change you want to see in the world. He meant that literally. Literally. Be the change you want to see in the world, because guess what happens when you be the change you want to see in the world? The world will change. Not because you changed the world, but because you moved into a world where it's like that. So, all right. I'm going to spin the wheel. Let's see what we get. General Mandela effect. All right. General Mandela effect. All right. So memories. I remember Ringo Starr of the Beatles having an accident somewhere in deep water and dying. He fell out of a boat and drowned. I learned about this when it was in the 80s. I learned about this in the 80s. My dad and my uncle were telling me about it. They were talking about the Beatles. I didn't know much about the Beatles, and they said, yeah, one of them died, Ringo Starr. Now that I think about it, that means what? John Lennon was alive in that time shoot? I don't know. I just remember that my dad and my uncle told me about how Ringo Starr had fell overboard or something on a boat and drowned. Apparently he's still alive. Okay. Also, the big game. The big game. The Super Bowl in the United States for a long time was the Super Bowl, and then a couple of years ago they decided to have it be called the Big Game if you weren't approved. You have to have permission to call it Super Bowl. It was like a money thing, a legal law thing, and so the Big Game. So basically, if there's a commercial or a radio talk show guy, they're gonna say the Big Game so they don't get sued, I guess. So the funny thing is, I've always loved football, and I've always watched the Super Bowls, and it wasn't until this past year, January 2016, the beginning of this year, the most recent Super Bowl, where I ever heard this big game, big game, big game. I was like, oh, it was annoying me, on the radio. It just called the big game. Now, I don't know. I look back, and apparently it was 2014 when they switched it to the big game. I don't remember them having that. I mean, I've heard that reference, the big game, but not as a consistent, repeated. That's what we call it because we were going to get sued kind of thing until this 2016. Apparently, they switched in 2014, and I watched the Super Bowl in 2014. I watched the Super Bowl in 2015, and I don't remember that. This is a relatively minor thing, but yeah, maybe others can relate to it. And then also, if you want to find a personal Mandela effect for yourself, one trick you could do is to talk to family members where you have a shared experience from childhood with them and go over the details of what you remember. Obviously, memory is not perfect. I think we've talked about that. But you might find a huge discrepancy, and it's the huge discrepancies in your memories that really can stand out. So let's all right. Let's spin that wheel. Let's see what we get. All right. Again, general Mandela effect. Okay. General Mandela effect. I'm going to list names. I am not going to talk about what's funky with them. That's up to you to decide. But if you are familiar with Mandela effect examples, and I name a name that you haven't really checked out, look it up. See how it's spelled. It might look really, really fucked up for you. All right. Anheuser-Busch, Shannon Doherty, Charles Schultz, Rod Sterling, Hanna-Barbera. That would be the company that made like the Flintstones. Jim Carrey, Fred Flintstone, Barbara Streisand, Courtney Cox, Steven Seagal, Liam Helmsworth. So check those out. And then there's some other words. A different setup here. Skechers. The T feels so right. It looks so right, but there's no T. It's Skechers lost its T. Other words that are now here's another type of, these are other examples of words I never heard about until I was at least 30. Ornery. Ornery. I think it's pronounced ornery, like crabby, like ornery, like crabby or rude or whatever, irritable. Ornery. I mean, I used to get accused of using words people didn't understand. I would be at work and they say, "Come on, Sean, don't use words we don't understand." Vocabulary. Am I the best at it? No. But it's pretty good. Pretty good growing up. You're trying to use a lot of different words. Like to study words. Like to utilize different words in conversation. Ornery, never heard of it. Ever. No memory of it whatsoever until after I was 30. Ginger. Ginger as a redhead. Okay, I grew up a redhead. I grew up a freaking redhead. Never in my life did I ever hear anyone ever use the term ginger to describe a redhead. Ever. Not even once. Now I hear it all the time in conversation in this culture. Never heard it till I was over 30. I don't know if this is anything fantastical. I've heard that several times now. Fantastical used in conversation. I mean, it's a word I guess I could think about, but it's not something I would come across in conversation. Maybe that's a coincidence, but I've heard it several times now. Fantastical. Not a big one. Not a big one. Gaslighting. Never heard about that. Now I'm hearing it. So all of a sudden it's like popped up. Now gaslighting. It's like I'm hearing about gaslighting. It's like, what? Never heard about that. And I used to, be into like different kinds of topics like that's connected to. But yeah, I've never heard about that. Carhartts, the clothing line. Never heard of it. Ever. Sunglasses, aviators. I've never heard of it, but I was wearing a pair of apparently aviator style sunglasses, and I've heard a couple of people mention it, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. So that's some stuff for you. All right, we're gonna spin the wheel, and got a couple more things to go over, and then we're gonna call it. All right, maps. We don't have any maps, so we'll move to the next viable one: quantum jumping. Quantum jumping. All right, this will be the last one for quantum jumping on this episode. Okay, this is important to remember. When you shift realities, which we're always doing, but when you shift realities over time, and you find yourself in basically anytime you shift realities, every other person in the world is native, germane to that reality. Again, when you shift realities, you're moving into a world where everybody else is already germane to that reality. They're native to that reality. That's where it starts to get a little weird. But it's like, okay, so the person that you know as a friend, your friend, the next day you see them, they're a different person. Yep, that's right. Absolutely. I'm saying absolutely, shaking my head no again. Without a doubt, absolutely. But yeah, no, there's no question. It's a different person. Almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same, but it's a different person. All right. So I'm not gonna spin now. I got a couple more things to go over with you guys. Okay. So car logos. I'm not going to detail what the changes are for me on these car logos, but I am going to list car logos that don't look the same anymore to me. And in follow up videos, yeah, so we can get into great detail on car logos. But Volkswagen, I think everyone pretty much knows about the Volkswagen who is watching this. Infiniti, Ford, Volvo, Honda, Oldsmobile, Lincoln, Acura, Mazda, Dodge, Chrysler. Some very subtle and some not so subtle. Actually, I will touch on the Volkswagen. It's the slit. Infiniti, it just doesn't look right to me. I know I said I wasn't going to get into the details, but I guess I changed my mind on that one. Infiniti, I mean, I don't know, man. Like the figure 8, it looks like a cheap pair of like binoculars or something you're trying to see through. And I just remember Infiniti and luxury and money and prestige. I don't remember that like a not so prestigious looking symbol. I don't know, Infiniti. Ford, yeah, don't need to get into the Ford. Volvo, yeah, we're all on the same page. Honda, it looks almost the same, but it's just something. Every time I'm on the road now, I see the Honda, and it's like there's something off. I think it's the shape of the square. It should have like a fat bottom, not the fat top. It should be like a little bit wider on the bottom. It's like upside down almost, or the way the H is. Something is slightly off with Honda. Oldsmobile, the wings, like whatever it is, it seems like wider. It seems like bigger. Lincoln seems taller and skinnier. Acura, the circle around the A. I don't remember that circle. I owned an Acura once. Used to wax it, and getting the like wax in the little crevices of the like symbols on the outside of the car can be a tedious process. I just remember that pretty A, but not the circle around the A. Mazda. Mazda looks funny to me. Just I don't know. I don't recognize it. I guess you could say. I'm sorry. The Oldsmobile that was Chrysler. The Chrysler looks too wide. Oldsmobile, I just don't recognize it. I just don't recognize that symbol on Oldsmobile. Kia. What happened to the A on Kia? It lost that little part. The A is like half written now. It used to just KIA. Kia used to, it just was a normal A, right? Yeah, and then also some people remember traffic lights being back upside down where the green was on top. I noticed the 26.2 and 13.1 marathon and half marathon stickers on the back of cars. I have a video about that as well. It seemed like it just happened overnight. Like I never saw it, and all of a sudden I'm seeing it all the time. And then there's sometimes you'll see a fish, a metal fish. I think it's a Christian symbol, metal fish on the back of the car. Don't remember seeing that, and now I see it from time to time. Maybe I just missed it. 26.2 and 13.1 was pretty dramatic, but the fish, I'm not sure. It's kind of a small symbol. I might have just missed it. Okay. Actually, looks like we're gonna have one more segment, and I'll be back later, and then we'll call it an episode.